Good afternoon, my friends. It is with a joyous heart that I join with you today to share some thoughts and to thank you for again remembering me and for what I've set out to accomplish, not only in this life, but in many. It was something as was stated that I chose to do, and it has become a very passionate part of me to impart what I learned and what I know is the truth to help open other people's eyes to the truth. And with that being said, I want to try to explain to you what I learned during this past life that I had as Carl Hewitt, the one that you knew me in. For when I walked the earth plane, especially in my younger years, my youngest years, it was quite a painful experience, as you know, because I saw people and heard people that no one else could hear, and and I was shunned because of it, because they thought it was an evil thing to do. And I had a hard time understanding that as a youngster. And it left certain, I'll use the word scars during that life. And as I grew older into my adult years, and even in my middle age, is I would come across other mediums who were mediumistic from birth as I was, but their parents nurtured them. And I felt envious of them because they had the exact opposite experience of me. But that was me walking through my life. What I'm going to try to explain to you, and it's a bit complex, is that I see that very differently now. I want you to think about walking along the streets of Manhattan in the bustle of all the people and the trains and the buses and the cars and the honking of the horns and everything. And then you walk into the Empire State Building and you go up the 100 some odd floors and you go out in the observation deck and then you look at down at New York City and it's totally different. Your perspective is very different. What you're experiencing is very different. So I want you to use the comparison of that, of changing your altitude and compare it to changing your frequency. When you use this recording, you are changing your frequency and you are raising it so you can be more in the divine presence, your divine energy, which is vibrating on a higher frequency, let's say, than what your regular everyday life is. And we've talked about shifting from your everyday life into your God consciousness, because you are the energy all the time. But we can compare it to changing, when you change that frequency, to changing your perspective of raising your frequency. Think of it as going up. But as you go up, it changes the way you see things. I hope you're following what I'm trying to say. Is that now that I've changed my frequency from the physical world to the spiritual world, and I look back down at my life, the patterns become easier to see. And I can see that all the distress and the unhappiness I had at being shunned in my early years actually helped to build my character and helped me to be a lot stronger in my life and helped me to achieve my goals. That persecution, if you want to use that word, helped to stretch me. Although when I was going through it, it didn't feel that way. As I lived my life, I didn't see it that way. But now that I've raised my frequency higher and I can see the pattern, I can appreciate that pattern. And that it served me well. And it helped me to improve myself during that lifetime. You spent some time just now going through my past lives, and the patterns were being shown to you of how I was the teacher and how I tried to advance people's knowledge and enable them to have a different understanding. In effect, I was trying to provide them a ladder to raise themselves up, to change their perspective, to change their frequency, and to understand more of the truths that are available once you can distance yourself from the emotions and the pain that you experience during those difficult times, and you can raise yourself above that emotion. You can start to see a pattern of how that served you and how that might be a stepping stone to something else, to more of your own personal evolution. And that is the great thing about this work. And that is the part of the power of the tool of your recording of the consciousness gathering. It allows you to change your frequency. It allows you to get beyond the emotion that you're experiencing during your everyday experience that kind of ties you down to that lower vibration. And it allows you to release that emotion and to exist in a higher frame of thinking. And when you know and experience that, you can kind of say, well, next, as I know I'm going to go back into a lower frequency of my everyday life, I can release some of that emotional pain I had. I don't have to keep enduring it and holding on to it. I can release it. I can live without it because I know it served me, it helped me, but I don't need to hold on to it anymore. I can release it. And I can turn my focus into my next step on the evolution, the next step of the ladder of evolution. For as you take each step, you're raising your frequency, you're changing your perspective, and it allows you to do some analytical thinking about what you've experienced and allows you to take the next step towards further evolution. Your lifetime is really a school. of learning through experience. It's not so much learning by sitting down and reading books and getting your knowledge that way, although of course some of your knowledge you gain that way. But the truest knowledge that you have is through experience. And when you go through the experience, you will have the hardships that push you and stretch you and allows you, once you raise your frequency and release it, release the emotional pain of it, allows you to go further. And that is not always a easy thing to understand as you're going through it. But as you use the recording and get used to using it as a almost like a dial of a rheostat, you are changing your frequency, you are changing your perspective. You stop, you analyze, you absorb all the information that you've learned, and then you're ready to turn that frequency dial again and go further and further along your path. Some people go through their lives and they never do that. So it takes lifetime after lifetime after lifetime in order for them to build that skill to do that. You are fortunate that through the studies that you have been doing, you are being able to do that in one lifetime. You are gaining the skills and really the experiences from other people, such as myself, who are giving you the tools to have that so that you can evolve quicker within this one life. So I want you to think about that and try to absorb it. And try not to, as was talked about, be so concerned about why I experienced this in this life. Does it come from past lives? Well, it probably does. But you don't need to know the detail necessarily of every single thing that happened in your past life. But what you need to do is to look at it and say, well, why it seems I am this way. What benefit is it to me? What is it helping me or is it hurting me? And if it's hurting you, try to get above it and eliminate it. Try to raise your frequency and then analyze it and look back. Analyze it without having. When you use this technique, you are raising yourself from the actual emotional part of it, and you're able to step above that. So when you analyze it, you can decide whether that emotion you need to hold on to it or you can release it at this time. It's a way to help to utilize that. I'm not sure if I'm making myself clear. I'm not sure if it's making sense to you. But I wanted to take the time to try to explain that to you. And I hope that it does make some sense and that you are become cognizant of it, so that if you do choose to follow in this procedure and to try to analyze what's going on with yourselves in order to release yourself from some emotional pain that you might have experienced in the past, you can use it to do so. And that is really the nutshell of what I was trying to explain to you. And I hope you will find it beneficial. So be it. We're now ready for our first question.
Thank you. Thank you, Carl and friends, for being here. And your teaching was beneficial. Thank you for that. So today we are honoring you and your birthday on the earth plane and your founding of Gifts of the Spirit Church. So we're very grateful to have you with us. The first question is from Esther. She recently listened to one of these RV gurus. He mentioned the attempted assassination of President Reagan And he mentioned how Carl Hewitt gave the security team a heads up on that planned assassination attempt, and that probably saved Reagan's life. Carl, can you tell us that story?
It goes back way before that, where the FBI contacted me because they were aware of something that I said that came to be, and they thought that I had engineered that situation in order for it to happen. And because of that, there was an establishment of contact between us. And so when I had the vision of President Reagan being shot, what I had seen was, or what I thought I saw, was that one of the cameramen had a fake camera, which was really a gun, and tried to shoot the president through the camera. And that is what I told the FBI agent. That was not exactly what happened at all, because there was no manipulation of having a gun and a camera. But what it did do was to raise their attention so that they were much more aware. So when he was being filmed that day, they were aware that there might be something that might happen, because what I had seen before did happen. And what in effect I did see did happen. I just didn't get the detail right. And it did help save Reagan's life that day. So that's the gist of what happened at that time. You understand?
Thank you. Next question is, when an addict passes over, do they still carry the addiction with them, even though they have left the body and the cravings of the body behind them? Thank you.
What happens is very much of what we just spoke of, is that when they arrive in the spirit world and they have their life review and they look back at their life, they will see the events that caused the pain that they had in their life, their emotional pain, and they will see that they chose to use a substance to numb that pain instead of dealing with it in a different way without the drug and without causing a substance abuse. So they are experiencing it without necessarily experiencing the physical pain of it and the emotional pain. Or to say it another way, when they're in this world of spirit, they're vibrating on a different vibration. So while they are experiencing the pain they had, it doesn't have the same effect it had while they were in the physical body, and then they can understand it better. So they come to understand what really caused their addiction, and they come to see the way that they dealt with it. Most of those people are remorseful because they feel they chose the wrong approach to it, using the substances that you're speaking of, and realize that they should have tried to do it a different way, dealing the pain without becoming using a substance to numb it, but to work through that pain and to have come up to a different result. So they learn through the process, but in effect, what's happened is because they changed their frequency and their perspective, they can come to the analysis of it and comes and see the shortfall that they had during how they could have handled it during their life. Do you understand?
Thank you. The next question is from more than one person. It concerns the situation in Iran, and there's several parts to it. So we'd like to know if that situation in Iran will escalate to a terrible war, and what is the real reason for the US attacks on Iran and who is behind that. There's also a question, has Trump been compromised by Mossad? Can you give us a clearer picture of what's going on with this Iran situation? Thank you.
There is many ways to look at what's going on. And what's basically has happened is that Trump has seen an opportunity through a weakness to cause a change in the regime of Iran with the hopes of a more peaceful leader ruling that country, which would change the dynamics of the whole Middle East. It would also change the dynamics of many players in the world, such as China and Russia. So there are many implications to what is going on right now. Your president's goal was to help the people of Iran. What that was his primary focus initially. His advisors made him aware that achieving that goal has more consequences than just for the people of Iran, which I just spoke of. So that, in a sense, he was a bit nearsighted because he didn't see that initially. But now that it's been brought to his attention, he is pleased about that. Although he realizes that that can cause many other things to happen. It's kind of like dominoes falling. One thing can start to lead to another to another. He is trying, as far as someone else trying to influence his mind, I will say he is a man who listens to many points of view. And then he makes up his own mind. He heard what they had to say, but that does not mean that he listened to them just because they said it. If he happened to do what he said, it's because he thought it was for the best. It was a possibility. He is a man who likes to look at all the possibilities and then weigh the situation to figure out which would get the best outcome. So we would not say that he was listening to someone and obeying them just because they said it, but that does not rule out that they might have presented the best possibility and he followed it, if you understand that distinction. He makes up his own mind. No one can really, no, he doesn't listen to any one person, but he does listen to all the possibilities and then reasons it out for himself. Have I answered your question?
Yes, thank you. Next question's from Carol. So I would like to connect with the Gaia consciousness. Um, Due to all the weather modifications going on and the weather manipulation. And I wonder what that consciousness thinks about this, or is there any intent on the part of Gaia to help clear that weather manipulation from the world? Thank you.
The consciousness that you are speaking of is very well aware of many things that have happened to on your planet, many of which she was not too thrilled with. She understands the principle of free will that humanity has, and therefore she allows many things to happen that is not in her best interest per se. But that does not preclude her when she feels the time is right to cause a major disruption upon the earth to cleanse some of this stuff out. You might term that as earth changes, as earthquakes, as tidal waves, as a result of earthquakes. These are all in her tool bag, if I use that kind of terminology, that is at her disposal. And will be a time when she will try to bring more balance into her own consciousness as she sees the planet should be, that will disrupt certain things that have been created by humankind. When that happens, it is our hope that humankind will notice and take note of it and maybe cease certain practices. But if those practices aren't ended, it just means that at another point in time, she will probably have to balance things out again. So that's the way that works. As far as your intent of merging with her consciousness, we would suggest that you do so. For as many as the more people that do merge with the consciousness of Gaia, it will help to modify human consciousness so that they can walk in the path of being more aligned with Gaia than walking in disharmony, as so many humans do throughout time. You understand yourself that the people that you know as the American Indians or the Native Americans were much more aligned with Gaia than the Europeans who came over and settled the land and started many disruptions. So the more people who merge with the consciousness of Gaia and start to walk more in balance with the earth, the easier it will be for the earth. She will not have to react as much, will she? Because there'd be more people walking more in line with her than against her. Am I making myself clear?
Yes, yes, you are. Thank you. Okay. Our next question is from Rhonda. Recently, in some mediumship practice circles, more and more people are presenting information about people who are actually still alive. Is there a spirit behind this information that should be identified, or is it actually a reflection of our increased awareness and energetic connection between those in the living world? Thank you.
My dear friends, those of you who are studying mediumship have been trained to think that you need to be in contact with spirits in the spirit world. What you are learning is spirit communication from your spirit to another spirit. Think of it this way. If you go out and buy a pair of sunglasses and they have bright blue lenses in it, and you go outside, the world will appear very blue. And what spiritualism teaches is that you put on blue lenses, and you communicate with spirits in the spirit world who have left their body. In actuality, those blue sunglasses don't exist. And you have learned soul to soul communication. And it matters not if the soul is in a physical body or if the soul is disincarnate and is in the world of spirit. It's the same communication, it's the same skill you are learning. So what is happening is there is a thought that is being projected into the ether waves that spiritualism has been a little too restrictive, and this should be teaching soul to soul communication and not be concerned whether it's incarnate or disincarnate, whether the person is alive on this physical world or if they're in the spirit world. It's the same communication. There are many people who are lying in comas who would love to talk to their family, and the medium could serve in that capacity. But most mediums have the blue sunglasses on and think they can only talk to the world of spirit. They would serve many people and help many people on the earth plane if they would communicate with the person who's in that coma and help their family out to communicate with them without those blue sunglasses, if you understand that. So this thought of limiting communication to just the spirit world is starting to expand. And what is happening is that people who have not really been told that information are experiencing it naturally, and they are surprised that they are talking to living people. The medium who is speaking to you has had that experience of seeing people, not that he did it himself, but he was in a class where one person was constantly communicating with someone who was in a coma. It was in their family and got information from them. Unfortunately, that teacher did not disapprove of that, but understood it was soul to soul communication. So this concept is going to happen more and more and more. And it will allow for people who have certain disabilities where they can't speak, or whether they're in a coma, or even if they are, let me say, have mental conditions where their thinking is not really cohesive, so that they cannot communicate through their speaking ability. But from soul to soul communication, that illness is not present, and therefore communication could be made with that person, and even certain therapy could be applied to that person through soul to soul communication. So this is something that is going to happen more and more in the days to come as we are going into the age of knowledge, and the limitation that spiritualism has placed on their mediums, thinking they can only talk to people in the spirit world, is going to be eliminated so that they can speak soul to soul wherever that soul happens to reside. Do you understand?
Yes, thank you. And before I go to the next question, I wonder if I can just go quickly back to the Iran situation and ask you if you feel that situation will escalate to a a real war.
The situation will do that if certain things happen. Will those things happen? That is hard to know. Again, with the free will that is existing on within humanity, uh, the potential is there, and the potential for it not to happen is there. So there are many different possibilities that are available, let's say, that could happen, and it all depends how the pieces fall together, which outcome will be arrived at.
Okay, thank you. So the next question is from Luvera. Who are the people responsible for kidnapping Savannah Guthrie's mother, and what's the reason behind it? Thank you.
The people who took that poor woman were attempting to do a traditional kidnapping with for a ransom so that they could get money because they understood that the woman, the daughter, is a TV personality and gets paid extremely well. Unfortunately, what they didn't realize is when they took the woman that her health would not allow her to live too long without her medication and certain condition and certain things with her pacemaker and so forth. So they ended up being in a situation where they could not follow through with the ransom, and therefore they kind of disbanded their whole attempt. And since the woman is no longer in your realm, they just hid the body and fled. You understand?
Okay, thank you. Uh, we do have a few more questions. Is the medium okay to
Yeah,
continue?
you may continue.
This is from Rhonda. Is there still a gradual increase in consciousness around the globe, or are current events, including recent disclosures, causing people to return to the 3D fear-based thinking? Thank you.
What we would say is that what is going on, as you described it, is affecting what is happening. Yes, you are correct in saying there is a certain amount of return back to their previous thinking. However, the frequencies are changing and ever increasing. So the temporary setback is just that, it's temporary. It's kind of like if you're walking along and you lose your footing and you kind of backtrack one or two steps, and then you kind of take a breath and then you continue going forward. So if some of these things didn't happen, people would have just continued going forward, and they might have gotten to their goal a little faster. But they go back for a second, and things change. The frequency changes a little bit. They react to it. They come to the awareness that, oh, I got it. They come to awareness and they abandon their backwardness and they start taking steps forward again. So yes, there's an effect. It slows things down temporarily, but it cannot stop the flow because it is a flow that will not stop, because the frequencies that are changing. It is like turning the dial on a rheostat from number 1 to number 10. It's going to get to 10 eventually, whether or not at one point you're at 3.5 and you go back to 3 for a little bit, and then you go up to 3.2 and 3.5 again and get to 4. It might have taken a little bit longer, but there is nothing that can stop the turning that dial to number 10 eventually. And again, what is happening is a rheostat. It's not going from 0 to 10 in a flash like you flick a switch turn a light on and it goes on instantly. That's not what's happening. It's a slow, gradual change. And that's nothing will stop the slow, gradual change. But individuals might have some lagging because of the current events. Do you understand?
Okay, thank you. Next question, also from Rhonda. Have children been rescued en masse from captivity and trafficking? And if so, what is happening with these children? Thank you.
There have been some children that have been rescued, and what happens to them is that they are taken to facilities where they are treated uh, to help them adjust to what has happened, to help them support them psychologically, to support them spiritually, to help them reconcile what has happened, and to help them try to learn how to live a normal life, as normal as they can, with the experiences that they had. Some of the therapists are using the techniques that we were talking about changing your frequency so that you can analyze what happens and learn to eliminate the emotional pain and so forth, so you can get beyond it. And that is some of the techniques that are using with a few of the children. Unfortunately, not all the people who are working with these children are as spiritually advanced to understand all that. But some are receiving treatments like that, so to help them process. It's going to be quite a while for these children to be to adjust and to deal with what has happened to them in a positive way, so that they can live a positive life. Do you understand?
Yes, thank you. The last question from Rhonda. Not so long ago, there was a huge spike in the price of silver. What drove that spike? And given the current prices of precious metals, are precious metals still a good investment for the future? Thank you.
It is very obvious to say it would have been much better if you bought precious metals 5 or 10, 15 years ago. But they are still a good investment because things will still be, uh, when the eventual collapse of the currencies happen, the precious metals will always hold some value. So therefore, it is definitely still a good investment for the long run. It would have been a better investment years ago, but you do not have the ability to go back into time. So better late than never, as is often said. The markets that you talk about are being manipulated by many different things, some of them by world events, some of them by demand. Certain metals are needed for certain things that are now required in batteries and in different technologies, so that has caused them to rise in price than what they were 5 or 6 years ago. But we would say to you, your money will not be worth very much when the change happens, but the precious metals would hold value. So it is still a good investment, if you understand.
Yes, thank you. And that's our last question. Thank you so much.
It
Love
is,
you.
well, and my love goes to all of you, my friends. I again express my deep gratitude for you taking the time to talk about me today and remember me in different ways. And it was my great fortune in having a life where I could be blessed by knowing so many people, and try and the admiration that you have for me is greatly appreciated, and it's overwhelming at times when I think back at it. But it is my hope and my desire, as you know, to try to be your guide into this new age that is coming, and to try to assist you as best I can to uh, to help you along the way. And I also wish to acknowledge that the teachings through the Council of Igma have greatly assisted me in my spiritual path. And I wish to acknowledge their medium who is helping you as well, because she has provided many of the tools and stepping stones that have helped me, and I have picked them up to try to help you and assist her as well to help you in what is happening. So it is, I will state that there are many different councils that are working with people all over your planet. The Council of Igma is one, but there's others that are there that have coalesced and have joined band together in order to facilitate knowledge to be channeled to people on Earth. And so while I used to do that when I walked the Earth plane, and it is a practice that's being continued, and all of this knowledge is helping you to form a stronger path to realize the God within and to bring that energy forward and help you to be that in your everyday life and to be a light unto the world. Because the more people who can do that, the more, the faster, in some senses, the change, will help to bring that change forward, because you are coming to a time when everyone on the planet will walk with being a light into the world. And those that will not, who cannot adapt to themselves, will no longer be walking on the plane, on the earth plane. So that you are coming to an age where that is going to be the way of society, if you want to use that term. It's actually the way of humanity, because actually societies will also dissipate and people will understand that God, each of you is God energy, and that each of you is just part of the picture, because all the animals are God energy, all the plants are God energy, the rocks are God energy, the water is God energy, everything in the universe is God energy, and they will become a unified force between not only everything that I just mentioned, but the beings living on other dimensions are also God energy. And all of you will be coming, will be in communication with each other and assisting each other, and advancing. The days to come, the age of knowledge, is very hard to describe, because everything will be changed. Your whole being, your whole way of living will be so completely different than what you have experienced growing up. It is similar to what was being said today by this medium about how technology has changed and how he was able to provide pictures so easily today, which would have been impossible 50 years ago. I look at the earth plane from my experience, and when I was a little child, mediumship was so condemned by so many people, and no one spoke of it. It was a topic that was hardly ever dealt with. Today, everyone knows what a medium is. You watch it on your TV, and it's very much out in the open, and the condemnation of it is so much less. And so think about those two comparisons and then multiply it 50-fold, and that's where you're going into the new age. Everything will be totally different. So we look forward to that. You should be looking forward to that. And you should be trying with your utmost to be the brightest light in the world that you can be, to assist this in happening. I hope that you can absorb everything that was said today, for it was quite a large amount of talking and a large amount of trying things to absorb, and I hope that in some ways it will assist you in your journey. As I withdraw from you today, I leave you with my fullest blessings and my deepest love and appreciation for you. And just know that I am only a thought away. And if you so need, if you ever in a situation that you need to talk to me and you need me to guide you, just reach out to me, then sit back, relax your mind, and I will do my best to communicate with you so that you can hear, see, feel the information that I need to tell you at the time. My love to you, my people. I love you so much. So be it.